Welcome to the first session of the day. You know, this conference is absolutely amazing. But I don't know about you, but I chose to eat bacon 4 days in a row. And I might regret that over the weekend. But my name is Ben Brautigam. I manage a group called Advanced Learning Projects within Teaching and Learning with Technology here at Penn State. I'm joined by Mr. Heffner.
I'm Jason Heffner. I'm a sysadmin over at Teaching and Learning with Technology here at Penn State as well.
So this morning we wanted to talk to you about mainly two things. One, a problem that we've seen, and like many of you, you're probably seeing it too, and that is how to effectively use AirPlay over enterprise networks. And secondly, the solution we have for that. We developed a way that can, without any network changes, effectively and strategically use AirPlay, and specifically AirPlay mirroring, across your enterprise network.
So what is the problem? As we can see, the problem is actually Bonjour. It started with bring your own device. So we have all these faculty, they have iPads, they have iPhones, they have Android, they come into the classrooms and they want to actually present in the classroom. The faculty are the ones who've been yelling, I want to use this, I want to use it wirelessly. So we've tried to come up with solutions, but the initial problem is Bonjour. Bonjour was only designed to work on LANs, home networks, not necessarily in enterprise. And of course, AirPlay uses Bonjour. There's my transition. AirPlay uses Bonjour. And on enterprise wireless networks, this is disabled. It's disabled for many reasons, mostly for performance, for security. There was even a change.org petition by the Wireless LAN group for EDUCAUSE, trying to get Apple to change the protocol to actually make it much more friendly. So solutions. Solutions, we used Splashtop and Deseri for a while. It's pretty much a remote desktop app back to a machine. Deseri worked really well for the faculty. It kind of satiated them for a while. It worked. There's a bunch of content sharing apps that are out there, but they don't do mirroring. I think every projector vendor right now has a solution for using an iPad with their projector. I'm really surprised at how many different types of products are out there right now. Now, another thing that people have been using is repeaters, software-based repeaters. Avaya is an open source product that allows you to do Bonjour registrations on separate networks. And for a while there at Penn State, we actually did put up a test wireless network that had Bonjour enabled. We worked with the telecom group here. Chuck Enfield was great.
Yeah.
I was really surprised it worked out really well. And we used a couple of Raspberry Pis at a couple of locations here, Harrisburg, University Park, to actually act as a Bonjour repeater on those networks. So we didn't have to set up virtual LANs, we didn't have to do any other configs. But it wasn't something that we could actually push out university-wide. It just wasn't feasible. Now, there's other products that could be possible solutions, gateways, a bunch of hardware gateways. Aerohive makes one. Cisco and Aruba has their own kind of solutions. I guess Aruba's ClearPass. Cisco, I guess they bought a company called Morocco. Thank you. Looks like everyone knows them. So now the other thing we looked at as well, the problem with the Aruba solution here at Penn State, we do use Aruba. Problem is it's a little bit too costly. It's licensed, I guess, from what I understand, per user. So it would have been much too expensive, and even with that solution, it would have been pretty hard to manage here at Penn State. Probably would at least needed a full-time employee. Other solutions I looked at, VLANs, hard to manage, difficult to set up, MDNS, and VPN solutions. VPN would have been nice, but the iOS doesn't support a TAP driver, only TON, so only layer 3, not layer 2. So we couldn't get Bonjour across that tunnel. Of course, without Bonjour, if you take that out of the pictures, alternative is WideEye from Intel. Miracast is Android, and wireless HDMI we actually tried as well. The solutions I found didn't work that well. They worked all right, but if you had a lot of interference in the room, it would get really grainy. And the other thing too is you had to have a dongle for it. I know a couple of companies also have additional solutions now out that use wireless HDMI.
So we see those solutions more like a Band-Aid on a gun wound right there. They might work temporarily, they might solve some issue, but there's still, we want to be able to have a student sit in the classroom with their iPhone and easily just swipe up Control Center and AirPlay to a classroom projector. I mean, point to point, nothing else in between. How can we do that? So we developed a native app called Mirror that essentially crowdsources Bonjour from your own device. So the app turns your iOS device into a Bonjour broadcaster across the network, creating a point-to-point connection to the Apple TV. So we created a server to kind of support that. So we add our Apple TVs to a server, and the app then pulls that information down, and voila. So what's the big deal with this? Well, this allows us to don't have to worry about podiums anymore. A faculty member can step away and engage students in a much easier way right from their iOS device. On-demand content sharing. So as a faculty member, I can easily mirror my display, but what about my students? They can do the same thing very easily, no problem. Cost effective. An Apple TV is $99. And employing BYOD, we're talking about devices that students and faculty already have with them. No dongles or adapters. Faculty are able to integrate third-party apps really easily this way because they can just mirror their display into any classroom or conference room. And it provides instant collaboration. It turns this projector into a community table for content sharing.
So the architecture, as Ben was alluding to, we have a server out there that has manual registrations. Actually, it's just a form that they fill out. They give us the host name of the device, the type of device, and we just put it in there and the location. Now, the app works as a Bonjour repeater. If you go back to a previous slide, you'll see that Bonjour repeaters were one of the solutions that we had actually looked at. So the app itself rebroadcasts that Bonjour advertisement locally to the device only. Now, the nice thing is this will work from anywhere. So these Apple TVs can be in any location. I don't have to be in the physical same room as the device, which is kind of nice. Now, to get around some of the other issues, the Apple TVs, we did hardwire them. They're hardwired into the local networks. The 802.1x authentication is a little difficult to set up and not something that we wanted to tackle and didn't necessarily need to. Another thing too is wondering what kind of bandwidth we would have to support to the Apple TV. So the wired network was the way to go for that.
So when we were developing this app, design was a primary point that we wanted to cover. We wanted to be able to give users an interface that made sense. With all this going on in the background, we wanted to give them a way to easily choose the device that they want to connect to. So the first step when they download the app is to choose the campus, which is the top picker there. So they tap the campus button, they get to choose their campus. Penn State's geographically dispersed across the Commonwealth, so there's multiple campuses to choose from. But once they choose that, it narrows down to another picker that lets them choose their building. And then, again, choosing a room within that building that they can connect to. Once a room is chosen, the connection is made in the app. They get a nice little animation to swipe up Control Center, and they tap AirPlay, and they see that Apple TV right in the AirPlay picker. So this is what the app looks like on iPhone. And likewise, we continued that kind of model through the iPad. Right now it is iOS only. For any iOS device running iOS 7 or later. But we are developing a Mac version for OS 10, so allowing users with faculty members and students with Macs. And this really fits our conference room use case as well, to mirror using their Mac. So we thought we'd demo it. But rather than having an Apple TV here in this room and showing it on this projector, we thought we'd up the ante a little bit and show you how to remote mirror using this app into another location. So we're going to demo it, and then we're going to let you guys download the app yourself and try it out right up here.
We did open the restrictions just for today that you can download the app at Penn State. So
keep in mind, right now this app is on Penn State's enterprise account. So you will need to remove it from your device when you leave today. Otherwise, you'll have Penn State's profile. So this is a live stream from a conference room in the Ryder building, which is way across State College, across campus. And this is a TV in our conference room. So what I'm going to do is take my iPad and see if we can't mirror from the Penn Stater to one of our conference rooms across town.
To download the app, you want to go to mirror.psu.edu/app.
Just make sure Wi-Fi is on here. All right, so I'm choosing my campus, and you'll see this when I mirror, but now I'm going to choose my building. We're in the Ryder building, and then this is room 202K. So I'm going to go ahead and start mirroring here. I should get a code on that TV.
So we're using all the Apple TVs in conference mode with PIN codes? There we are.
All right. So that's my iPad right from the Penn Stater, AirPlaying over our enterprise network to an Apple TV in one of our conference rooms. Slight delay because of the IP camera, but questions?
Where do I sign up?
So good question. So a lot of institutions want this. So we opened up a Yammer network. And if you email mirror@psu.edu, you can request access to that, and we can give you, Jason put together some great documentation to set up your own Mirror server. And we are potentially looking to open source the app.
Now, when we initially released this, I should probably say, is we released it on the App Store. Apple didn't quite like what we've done in the app, so they are probably going to pull it, which isn't a problem for us. We already initially designed it as an enterprise app anyway. So now we just have to distribute the code to all our partners that we currently have and find a way for them to use it, which should be pretty easy, actually. Is the email address, or mirror.psu.edu is the actual site. On the site, though, we do have on the front page a partner program. So if you sign into that and fill out the form, it'll go to us as well. Yes?
Are you saying Apple's going to pull iOS out from us?
Yes. You certainly can. It's called Mirror by Penn State. We did develop a version 1.2 to remove a lot of the branding and fix a couple of issues. And when we went to submit that, that's when we actually had the review.
Where they thought something was awry. Yeah.
What are your system requirements for the server?
Just PHP with MySQL. Okay. I try to make it as simple and as easy for someone to develop against if they wanted to. So the code is not long at all, to tell you the truth. The database is pretty simple. Yep. So actually, we had one partner who submitted code back to us for managing the registrations. Yes?
Is that a locking feature, so once you're connected, no one else can jump over the top of you?
Well, the Apple TV is once you do connect with the Apple TV, no one else can connect.
So right now, since I'm mirroring, none of you have downloaded the app. None of you can take over my session unless I stop mirroring.
Now, there's some difference with products like Air Server, where you can actually, instead of having just one device on the screen, you can have 2, 3. I've seen, I think, up to 18 already. Yes?
How do you control who's allowed to connect?
It's a good question. We got that from a lot of the partners. Since this is still pilot, we're still trying to figure out how they'll use it in their courses. We want to see this fall how the students will use it and how the faculty will use it. A lot of faculty have been flipping the classroom lately, and they're really interested in getting the students to be able to display content up to the front screen. Now, I've known a couple of universities did take our code and actually set up private networks, private wireless networks, that only faculty and staff can connect to, which I thought was a little too much, but we're still trying to figure out how it's going to be used in the classroom. So we may end up building authentication in later on, and authorization.
I had a question.
We have a couple PCs in our area, and they use AirParrot. Would that still be the same thing?
Unfortunately not. We don't have a Windows version yet. Since Bonjour is disabled, you still need something for the repeater. And it is probably something that we'll look at, hopefully releasing. Maybe one of our partners will help us out too.
Cool, thank you.
Question over here?
Is this actually on the WAN, or is it only because you're authenticated to your PSU Wi-Fi here?
I'm actually on AT&T right here.
With the iPad?
Oh, the iPad? You can connect to from anywhere. Oh, actually, no, you do have to be in Penn State. You're right. You have to be connected to Penn State. Only reason being is the outer firewall for Penn State. If that wasn't in place, then it would just go through.
And you said you can't VPN through it because of Bonjour?
You can VPN. If you used VPN into Penn State, you can actually then connect to one of the devices.
Okay.
Yeah, and believe it or not, the iPad works pretty well over VPN. I've done it from home for testing, and it doesn't drop me at all. It does pretty small bandwidth requirement.
Okay, so as far as security is concerned, I mean, on our campus, when you authenticate, depending on your security, students get in their own Wi-Fi, and faculty staff get in a different one. So I mean, we could, like, if your Wi-Fi is set up like that, you could just split it out and only open the service to certain ports.
Yeah, the same goes with the mirror server itself. You could always block us from certain IP ranges, so that only certain IP ranges can actually get that list. So there's already some network methods in place to control the access to it.
Yeah.
So I'm a cynical old fart who's been in the federal government and seen lots of vendor demos and think, wow, how cool.
Right.
And then I bring the vendor in and the rubber hits the road and it's hard. What's the dirt? Can you?
That's good because we're not vendors.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Well, for an institution actually running it, they do require to have an enterprise account, so you can actually code up your own enterprise iOS apps and compile them against your enterprise certificate. So that's $299 a year. Let's see, what other gotchas would there be?
I mean, as long as you have
firewalls,
the documentation. I mean,
running into.
Yeah, that's.
Occasionally, a couple places we plug them into the LAN. There's a bunch of firewalls in place. They just poke holes into the PSU wireless connection, so they can get through the PSU wireless to that local LAN.
Tell me more about the server side.
Server side's just PHP MySQL. We've actually had someone who put it on Amazon's web hosting service and ran it that way. It does require an SSL certificate and a valid SSL cert, so no self-signed certs. We did build that in because it was originally a app on the App Store. We wanted to make sure security was addressed because we have a lot of folks like are in this room who would try to poke holes in it and make sure that we're on the up and up.
So someone in here just was mirroring. Is that you, Justin? Okay. So it just shows how easy it might be.
So how many Apple TVs do you actually have?
Right now at Penn State, I think we have about 24 registrations.
Yeah.
So we're still early in the rollout ourselves. And we have plans to trial it this fall in a couple of classrooms. Now, unfortunately, we haven't gotten the faculty list yet, so we don't know what classrooms and what faculty are. Well, we don't know where the faculty are. We want to make sure that these devices are in place so that we can actually get an accurate picture of how this is going to be used in the classrooms.
So what I'm concerned about is we've got some clients that we've deployed 50, 70 Apple TVs to, and on a well-designed network, that's good, but you do get congestion issues. To deal with that, we've put in QoS. So you basically are kind of, metering your time-sensitive media. You got to get the video and the audio there. But that's not even going to be possible over a VPN link because you don't control that segment. And across the different networks, I'm a little concerned about it. How much can you actually push across there? It actually raises an interesting question because the conversation you're having is no longer to the Apple TV. You're now having a conversation to your server.
Yeah.
We actually may solve that problem completely. So you said about 24 right now?
Yeah, about 24. But they're really small bandwidth, and they're not going to be used all at the same time, obviously. Now, our wireless networks at Penn State are actually on a separate network. They're all on the same network segmented out. The wired connections are pretty much different colleges, different campuses have their own sysadmins, have their own networks. So from the wireless back to that wired connection, it works really well. The only problem I've seen is OS 10. And a couple of our staff have complained about it as well. If they're in a meeting, they may get dropped maybe 3 or 4 times within an hour. Because the bandwidth requirement for the Retina display is so much larger that they do end up losing that connection occasionally.
Thank you.
Now, maybe Apple will address that in later versions. I don't know. Oh.
So, just so I'm not confused, all you're really doing here is rebroadcasting from the server the Apple TV's Bonjour. You're not actually streaming to the server and sticking it back into the Apple TV. That's actually a point-to-point from your device to the Apple TV once it's discovered.
Yes.
That's correct.
So, that's what I was hoping for. We've actually implemented the Aruba solution where I'm at, and we're having good luck with that, the same way you guys are. We were already using their stuff for other things, so the toll was already paid for us. So this looks really, really great. Do you have any idea what Apple's reasoning is for taking you guys off the App Store? Because really, we've got a bunch of deployments in higher ed where we're at, and enterprise is not one of them. So wouldn't be looking forward to managing yet another one of those just to put this solution in.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say exactly the line of code that they have a problem with, but basically the reason is we're using documented APIs as they were not intended. Take that for what it's worth.
This is the reason the user community has come around with jailbreaking. And the last thing we want to do is have to jailbreak our devices, and that wasn't our intention either. However, enterprise license does allow us to get around that kind of snag. And as you mentioned, it's just nothing more than a Bonjour repeater to the local device itself. And the nice thing about that is once it's just used for discovery, so the nice thing about that is once you're connected, it's totally Apple, and our app's out of the way.
What's the advantage of this over just using the Bluetooth setup that they came out with recently?
Good point.
Good point. The Bluetooth, we tried it. We actually had this app out as proof of concept last year. The Bluetooth came out, what was it? January? We tried it out, see how it worked. We're actually disabling the Bluetooth in the Apple TVs right now because it conflicts with our method. If they're named the same, they actually look like the same registration. The Bluetooth, we tried it out, but it doesn't work that well. I don't know if you've tried it out at all.
Now, Bluetooth discovery in your house works great,
Yeah.
right? But when you have a classroom with, at Penn State, potentially 700 students in it, hundreds of devices trying to access via Bluetooth, in some of our classrooms, students in the back of the room couldn't connect via Bluetooth because they're out of range.
Yeah.
So it's very limiting, and you're not able to do anything like this.
Well, we had trouble with even picking up the Discovery itself. The device, a couple of devices had to turn Bluetooth off, turn it back on again, reboot the iPad. Finally, it would show up, and then I'd be able to connect to it. And I have another slide here at the end, but because that's pretty much the elephant in the room was the Bluetooth. The other thing is iOS 8 is also going to add in additional features in the way they work with AirPlay. So we're just waiting to see how that shapes up too.
Oh, yes, sir.
We infamously have users that stay connected to the Apple TVs. Are you able to remotely kick them off and everything else like that? As opposed to going up to them and just whack?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we haven't found that. I found a way to do that. But the connection does time out after a certain period of time if their iPad goes blank. Also, if they're out of range of the wireless and their wireless gets dropped, same thing, the wireless will turn off, it'll disconnect.
But that'll be an interesting issue to explore as we pilot this when you can't take over an AirPlay session with conference mode now. So the user would have to disconnect. So like we mentioned before, we are planning an expanded classroom. Oh, go ahead.
What is your ETA on the OS 10 version?
We actually have it coded and working on our developer machines, but we noticed an issue with the loading of the app to the store for some reason on machines that don't have Xcode. So we're investigating that right now, and it's just a couple of code tweaks. But with the App Store poll, we've been primarily working on that currently.
So with those code fixes, and again, the primary issue being how do we distribute it at that point?
Yeah. And it's in the same project as our iOS app. We've actually got both in the same project, so when we do release the code, we want to make sure that that's working.
Is there a question?
Your partner program, is it only universities?
No.
No. No, we have a couple of institutions that have contacted us. The most interesting one, I think, is a bank in Japan.
Wow.
Yeah, it was funny to see that one because they only email you at 3 a.m. in the morning, so it takes a full day to reply and get a reply. I don't remember. No, it started with a B. And a couple of universities from Australia, it was the same thing, back and forth. It's pretty cool to actually hear from everyone.
What's in the partnership agreement?
You wrote that up.
So,
You have to worry about as a
basically, we just want to be able to hear feedback and use cases. We're very curious, and especially if this does go open source, we want to know how you're using it, what features you're adding, what changes you're making. Just general discussion. And that's why we chose Yammer. It's really a social network for enterprise, so it allows some good discussion to happen.
The server requirements, I know you just said PHP and SQL. Doesn't matter if it's like a Linux, a VM, does it have to be a physical box?
Nope, it's as simple as PHP and MySQL I could have written.
That's it.
It actually also, you can use SQLite. I even wrote that in there. So I used BDO and PHP, and the code is fairly simple. Yeah.
Really, the server piece, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's just housing where your Apple TVs are located. So the user can easily access the one they want.
Yeah,
it's very lightweight.
Querying the database, generating the JSON, and sending it back to the app. Yeah. I can show it to you later if you want. I think it's 25 lines of code.
Wow.
So.
Otherwise, if you swipe up Control Center, you would see a list of however many Apple TVs are in your enterprise. Right? So this allows us to really organize that and only show the one that the user wants in the app.
Yeah. And now that we're going enterprise app, we can also try other things out. We could even possibly background the app, do a lot of things that we couldn't do because it was in the App Store. So kind of opens some new avenues for us. Yeah.
Have you messed around with the peer-to-peer that's coming?
No, I tried it, but once I get iOS 8 on an iPad, AirPlay doesn't work with anything. I couldn't even use it with existing Apple TVs. Now, I tried the new beta of Apple TV 6 that came out. However, same thing. They must still be working on a lot of issues with iOS 8, and I've heard in the forums of other folks having trouble with just other basic features. So it's pretty early beta, I think.
Yeah, it's just an interesting concept where you don't even have to have the Apple TV even on a network.
Yeah.
Just be sitting in a room.
Yeah, that is
It's
very attractive.
Bonjour requirements are AirPlay and RAOP. So the registrations themselves are pretty simple. Folks have been doing it with printers, AirPrint, for I don't know how long, mostly through MDNS, but that wasn't very reliable for Apple TVs. So
Before we continue on, I want to point out that since he's here, Sherwin Saul in the front row here, he was a lead developer on Mirror. So, so bug him.
Yeah. I can do the proof of concept, but I rely on him to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And Ben here did a lot of the UI work.
So it was a great collaborative exploration for us as well, getting into this. And especially if we go open source, that'll be something new for us that we can kind of learn from too. But like we mentioned before, we're expanding or planning an expanded classroom pilot this fall. Right now, majority of our Apple TVs are in conference rooms right now, which is, I guess, to be expected because it makes a meeting much more pleasurable. But classrooms obviously are our biggest use case, seeing how students use this and faculty interact with it. And then continuing that partner program. And again, mirror at psu.edu if you're interested in joining that. We'll add you to the Yammer group where you can get access to Jason's documentation for the server side. So.
Now, other options we were thinking about, we are running Doceri on a lot of the classroom lab podiums. A quick replacement in would have been AirServer. So instead of using Doceri, they could use AirServer. AirServer emulates an Apple TV on the network. It runs on Mac and PCs. It works fairly well, and the app does support it. We have support into the app actually support AirServer and Reflector, which is new as of, I think, March. The companies both made changes to their code. Now, I sent them emails, but I didn't hear anything back. But miraculously, both companies made changes to their code so that the registrations are no longer dynamic. They're actually static. So I have an opportunity to actually put those in the database as well. And then everyone, the elephant in the room, of course, was Bluetooth and iOS 8. We don't know what Apple is changing, what they will change. And then
that's our feedback link for this session. But I kind of want to go back to, obviously we wanted to leave some time for more discussion, but we go back to the stream and just demo it one more time.
Oh, yes.
Has anyone downloaded the app just to see the UI? Okay, so you're able to, and I saw some PIN codes coming up, which you can probably do outside of Penn State's network, but it just won't create the connection.
Always scared when you do a live demo. You never know if it's going to work well or not. Now, some of the requirements, as you noticed, I wasn't able to put one in here at the Penn Stater, mostly because the registration for the Apple TV would have been on DHCP, so I wouldn't have known what the IP was. So in order for me to do a static registration in our database, I need to know what the host name is. So it does require a host name address, but it could be any DNS server, that even internal DNS that you're using.
So what I'll do is I'll just start from the beginning. The app opens, and on the top I'm just choosing my campus, and that choice then populates the building list. So when I tap building, I'm able to choose my building here. So that this Apple TV is in Rider, which then populates the room list. So 202K. Once you choose a room, the connection is made. So that then you can prompt Control Center to see a room. And it's doubling the connection right now because I did it twice.
Connected.
I'm already connected, but it will only show you the room that you chose. So it makes things really, really easy. What other questions do you have?
Do I disconnect so people can try it out?
Yeah, well, they have to be on PSU.
Can you talk a little bit about, I know you went over this in the beginning, but can you talk a little bit about your choice just not to use VLANs in the native built-in app? We're doing this now at our school across buildings, and we've just VLAN Bonjour traffic. We're having students and teachers do this. And it seems to be a lot to just, a lot to put in place when you can just rely on the native. So what was, why didn't VLAN, work for you guys?
It's a good question. I worked with our telecommunications group at Penn State, and one of the issues with VLANs is mostly just trying to manage them and set them up. We're a pretty diverse organization, so we got folks in many different campuses, and getting the VLANs connected would have been somewhat of a management nightmare. Not to mention, some folks don't even know what VLANs are. You'll run into people who are in charge of networks who have no idea what a VLAN is. We did that, the VLAN setup we did originally with the wireless network at Penn State is on different VLANs. And that was, can't really talk to about TNS, but they said that was pretty difficult to get set up. Now TNS is actually managing the entire wireless network and without the need for a local network administrator. Different LANs have different requirements. Some require that Bonjour is disabled. Some require that they don't have any outside, different connection type. So it was just it was really, to come back to it, was just a management nightmare. Is mostly, if you have a network that you can control that way and use VLANs, then yeah, go ahead and use it that way. That's.
So Sherwin up here is using a dev version of our OS 10 app to mirror to that Apple TV from his MacBook
good.
Pro.
And that's the code.
Take a screenshot, people.
Screenshot. This session is being recorded.
And the code.
Yes.
How does that interact when you use some of the screen magnification features of either iOS or macOS?
Well, we can demo that right now.
You can iPad too, and no, I've never tried, to tell you the truth. I have to give credit for our assistant director, Chris Millay. He really pushed us to try to find a solution. And most of the solutions we came up with was the same that everyone else comes up with, and he just kept pushing, this isn't good enough. So this is what we ended up coming up with. The telecom guys love it because they don't have to make any changes on their existing networks for this to work.
So we're going to try zooming here.
I don't think he has it enabled on his machine.
Oh.
Yeah, I have it enabled. Yeah, I do with the shortcut. You don't have it enabled with the mouse. Sorry, guys. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're smart.
It only does local zoom? Oh, there it went.
That's in the app.
Yeah, it's still just terminal.
Yeah, it's just terminal. I see the.
Turn it on, it's under accessibility.
Yeah.
But you see, all right, I'm going to show you just
There's
now.
also a function under accessibility that will track the pointer versus keep it in there.
Right,
That-
right.
That may just follow the pointer and you will magnify.
Now, at this point, it's just Apple. It's nothing to do with the app.
So the zoom happens here.
Oh, you have the zoom
I
there.
have the zoom enabled, but
So it's not the mirror.
Yeah.
It must be just right on the Apple machine.
That would be kind of cool if they did that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a suggestion for Apple, I guess.
But it does support Air Server.
Yes, the registration was slightly different, and I built that into the actual app. Yeah. So in the database, we have a field for type of device: Apple TV 3,1, Air Server, and Reflector. And as we find more devices that will work with this, we can add just the registration.
Yeah.
So for using computers, does that work from the login window, or do you have to have a console user to launch something in the background?
Not entirely sure. With Air Server is what you're talking about?
Well, with any Windows or Mac, if I have a computer in the room, can I take it over without someone logging into that machine?
I don't know. I'd have to actually test that out, to tell you the truth. I do know that Air Server will pop up, so you can have it running in the background, and it's just out of the way. But I think I saw a post at one point saying that you could do something and set it up that way, so you don't have to be logged in to actually have Air Server. Air Server could run as a different user in the background. Now that was on Mac. I don't know. Maybe there's a Windows equivalent. Yeah.
Right. Is he trying to do remote desktop? Because it's not a remote desktop. You're just trying to say I've got a headless machine that will act as a server.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're asking?
No, I just want like the instructor for the PC. I don't want like if somebody's sitting there with an iPad, I don't want them to have to log into the PC.
Oh.
The app to let them mirror the iPad.
Yeah. The other option is to put it in maybe in some kind of kiosk mode too, but then again, that's much more expensive than 99.
To still be functional as a
Right.
PC.
Yeah.
For people that want to use it.
So the process might look like this. The faculty member is showing their slides. They open up Reflector and say, okay, Timmy, why don't you show the project you're working on? And then that way they're able to just seamlessly do it.
Well, some of the nice thing also with Air Server, you can have multiple devices come in, so there may be a use case for that, especially in education. As well as you can record the session. Reflector and Air Server can also record now.
Another use case, the director of IT at our Harrisburg campus, John Ho, he was having to purchase these like $90,000 Mediascapes, right, with one display and those pucks that students can then log in, or, you know, connect to show that. But and then he had a room with, he wanted 4 of those. So rather than that,
Which
you
is
can get
pretty costly.
Yeah, exactly. So rather than that, you can get a large display and put them in 4 corners of the room with 4 Apple TVs, maybe an Apple TV connected to the central projector. So now students can break off in groups and show the project they're working on, and then any one of them can show the whole course very easily, the work that they're doing. So it was a low cost, but in my opinion, much more effective way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't used enterprise apps. At least I haven't seen too many in education being used at to the fullest potential they could be used. So it'd be nice to see what comes out of this.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
One of the things we did with Apple TV is we solved a problem. Just to say, we had a projector in a theater that was, you know, literally 40 feet off the ground, and they were trying to figure out, and a poorly placed podium way to the side of a big theater. And so instead of trenching and core drilling and running all of the things, we actually just deployed an Apple TV, and it solved that problem in that space for us and saved us probably somewhere like $75,000 worth of construction cost in that.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've seen some cases where it saved us a lot of money in a place where you wouldn't normally think about it.
That's great.
Yeah. And a lot of folks for the small conference rooms, the Bluetooth works. So this isn't really a solution for everyone either. But if it helps you out, we're happy.
How long have you been working on it? How many people are on the team? How many hours have you put in?
Proof of concept, I built it in July of last year. It was one of those ideas that I didn't think would work. I was quite surprised when I actually was able to hack into the C code and get it to actually work. And then, I guess Sherwin, you got involved, I think, September or October?
Something like that.
Yeah, we started coding it up, put a UI around it. We started the Mac app probably in January.
Yeah, that one went a lot quicker.
That one went a lot quicker.
So, I mean, it's basically the same.
Yeah, just a
Code base.
GUI around the same code.
So about 12 months, the whole project.
Yeah, we
That's
got
from,
about
that's from conception to
about 4
where we're at.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 people, and then we're involving other places around the university in order to actually do a lot of the demoing and testing, identifying faculty to actually work with, and see how the technology can actually be used in the classroom, as opposed to having to worry about getting it to work.
Yes.
Do you think that modular repeating is helping the connection after you connect, or is it just the initial connection?
Just the initial discovery and the connection.
There's no like added reliability with a more stable connection to the Apple TV.
No, the only added reliability is if you are using Bluetooth, we found that was not the most reliable. For instance, I had to reboot some of the iPads, turn Bluetooth off, turn it back on. It also has some kind of check to make sure that it can get a connection to the Apple TV. That sometimes doesn't work. But at least the nice thing with the app, it broadcasts it locally, and it's just there. Now, is the Apple TV up? Is the other question. Discovery is always there, but is the actual Apple TV connectable? Is it behind a firewall? Is it actually turned on? Now, if you're using it the traditional way in the same room, then you can see that right away. Yeah.
So we're going to break a little bit early. That you guys got to break in before the next session, but Jason and I will be up here if you want to discuss this a bit more, take a look at the app, etc. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.